Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Wine's World, and I've decided to have a slightly different background just for once. Let's see how it goes. My white wall background is a little bit plain. This is my kitchen, and I haven't particularly tidied it up for the video, but I have been doing some general cleaning, which I'll show you a little bit later on. But for right now, I want to talk about this period between Epiphany and Lent, which you can kind of consider to be preparation for Lent, which is also a time of preparation for Easter. So you can think of it as preparation for preparation. And what I'm particularly interested in is what people do for Lent, and the general scheme of things for a lot of people is that they give something up. It's a kind of discipline of sorts. And so I want to talk about self-discipline in general. I want to talk about giving things up, and I also want to talk about annual cycles, a lot of things. So let's just get started. Now, when I was a teenager, going to Presbyterian churches in England, we had one minister who was pretty staunchly Calvinist, I guess, and he would every year just absolutely rail against Lent. Like, what are the Catholics and the Episcopalians doing? You know, they're denying themselves deliberately and then showing off how wonderfully they've done or how much they've saved or whatever, and then they go back to their usual life. Whereas we, staunch Calvinists, are disciplined every day of the year. Like every day is Lent for the Calvinist. Well, that's not very good. It's no better than every day being a feast day. The whole point of the Catholic and Episcopal traditions is that there are some feast days and there are some fast days, and that you balance them off, so that if you have a long period when you don't eat meat, then when you do eat meat, it's particularly savory because you have not been eating meat for a long period of time. And I do the same thing with my seasonal cooking. What I cook for Christmas, in general, not everything, but things like Christmas pudding, mince pies, sausage rolls, I make them only at Christmas time. I don't make them for the rest of the year. I really look forward to doing them, and I have a great deal of pleasure in making my mincemeat, in storing it and feeding it every month. Same with my puddings and my Christmas cake. So that when Christmas comes, it's a big celebration, and then when Epiphany is here and Christmas is over, those things get put away and we start on something else. So I've been doing some interesting experimenting in this carnival season. The carnival season, of course, you can experiment with anything you want. And what I've been doing quite recently, you see here in an image I took the other day, I've been trying to find a substitute for suet so that I can make proper suet puddings. And I decided to try out, given that I now have a nice food processor that chops up things really fine and nice. If I get really fatty belly pork and I put it in the food processor and just chop it up really, really fine and then add flour and water, it actually does make a reasonable simulacrum of a suet pastry. So that's a start. It's much meatier than using butter. I could use butter if I was going to make something like spotted dick or jam roly-poly, something sweet. But when it's meaty, then it helps if the fat is a meaty fat. So that was one thing that was a great benefit. And as I said, I also figured I've been like wandering around my apartment looking at various things. And up on one of my top shelves where I keep all my sauces, which you can see here, I was looking the other day for something. I looked behind one of the sauces and said, uh-oh, there's a lot of dust here. The thing is that if a shelf is up high and you don't use the sauces in some of the places on the shelf every day, you can just forget about the dust and the various other things that are collecting. I found a dead bug up there. When you actually get up there, then you say, okay. So I spent the last couple of days going around the whole apartment, and particularly the kitchen, in all the nooks and crannies. And that included my refrigerator, because after Christmas, there's still a lot of things just kind of poking around, and just everything needs to be cleaned out. Just get everything out of every shelf and make a decision. Is this still edible? Can I still use this for some reason? Is it time to do away with it? Should I freeze this, which I have here? Like these cheeses, should I make a cheese sauce or some kind of cheese dish? And so I sorted out the whole refrigerator. I cleaned off the top of the refrigerator where I have all of my spices, and it just like feels renewed. Like that's part of how I feel about getting ready for Lent. So like I'm still being happy, rejoicing, but then I have to consider, like, how am I going to spend Lent? Well, I'm not going to give anything up. I used to. Back in my early ordination days, so we talk about 25 years ago, I used to practice a fairly medieval concept of Lenten discipline, which meant giving up meat, among other things. I'm not sure I don't remember all of the things, but certainly giving up meat. Now here's one of the things that you probably don't know about Lent, and an awful lot of people, even in the Catholic Church, don't know, is that historically, the Sundays in Lent are not fast days, because according to Catholic dogma, every Sunday is a feast day. Every Sunday. Now, in Lent, you don't have to go hog wild on Sunday, but you can relax things a little bit. You can, if you don't eat meat for the rest of the Lenten season, you can have a little bit of meat, like not 3 meals of steak, but you can maybe have some bacon with breakfast or something like that, or maybe have a lamb chop for dinner. Still disciplined, but relaxed a little. Because if you want to count the days of Lent, there are actually 40 days of fasting in Lent, but you start doing your arithmetic and you say, well, wait a minute. It starts on a Wednesday, and it goes for almost 7 weeks. Well, that's almost 46 days. How do you get 40 days? It's because the Sundays are not fasting days. So that it's Monday to Saturday most Lenten weeks, with it being Wednesday to Saturday in the first week, and then it gets even more arduous in Holy Week. When we eventually get around to all these things, I'll explain in much more detail. But obviously, Lent ends at the final Holy Week, which is Monday to Sunday, which includes things like, Palm Sunday is the week the Sunday before, and you've got Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and so forth. And then Easter Sunday itself is the final end, when you have a big dinner, usually lamb. I'm going to try to have lamb this year. Anyway, that's all in the future. But for now, I want to think about discipline. It doesn't mean necessarily giving something up. Although I used to do that. I used to give up smoking. I smoked cigars for many, many years. And I would sometimes give up smoking in Lent, or alcohol. Well, I don't smoke anymore. I don't really do much in the way of drinking anymore. I do still have an occasional drink, but it's very rare. So about 5 years ago, I had this idea that I would give up worrying for Lent, because I used to spend a certain amount of time worrying about odds and ends. I mean, there's finances, my health, and I realized that worrying is an absolutely useless emotion. Like, you can't do anything by worrying. And in fact, if you want to be Christian about it, Jesus says that quite frankly. He says, who can put on a centimeter on their height by worrying? Like, you can't. If you can do something if you've got a problem, and if you can't do anything, then you shouldn't be worrying, because you can't do anything. So I gave up worrying for Lent, and what surprised me is that I didn't start again. I just said, okay, fine, I'm not worrying anymore. I'm gonna take care of the things I can take care of, and I'm not gonna worry about the things I can't take care of. The end. And then I posted this on Facebook recently. I said that I was going to give up anger a few years ago, and it didn't work. And I realized why. It's because I mean, I'm not generally the kind of person that gets angry a lot, but there are some people that make me really angry all the time. And so I had a great insight at one point, where I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give up the people that make me angry. And that's what I did. And that's also solved the problem. As long as people don't piss me off, I'm fine. But those are shading into what I think about now when I think about Lent. I think about what is a good discipline for Lent that isn't necessarily like avoiding things that I like. I mean, sometimes it is if I like those things, but they're not good for me, like smoking cigars. But like giving up something that you like just for the sake of it, it doesn't seem to me to be particularly productive. You have to think about self-discipline in terms of things that you want to improve about yourself. What have you tried to do and failed, and can you find the strength to do it in this Lenten season? Well, I haven't really come to any conclusions as yet. I have no idea. And I mean, frankly, if I don't do anything for Lent that is out of the ordinary, then it will be all right. It's not it's not like I have to have some kind of external discipline placed on me in order to get myself into a habit of self-discipline. I don't. I can do that any time of the year. But it is a useful time to be reflecting. And so when I say that Carnival is like the preparation for preparation, what I'm thinking is like, what do I want to do differently? Don't know. That's the puzzle and the challenge. And so I will be thinking about it, and maybe you can think about it too. In the coming week, you can think about what you might be willing to change in your life. There's another way to think about it. Instead of giving up something, say it's something that you're changing. We all have a tendency to resist change, but there may be things that need changing. So what do you think needs changing in your life? What do I think I need changing in my life? I think I need to get out more. I think I need to stop being confined into my apartment because of lockdowns and all other sort of stringent measures. Anyway, I wish you a joyous week, and I will probably do some cooking on Friday. I'm not sure, but I'll give it some thought. Maybe talk a little bit more about suet substitutes, something like that. Anyway, have a good week.